need to just check that it's still morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're a little bit later today, aren't we, doing our video? Lila was up for party hour at 5, so she's currently in timeout up the stairs. And so we're here for another Storybook Bible. Today, we just got Willow. What is?
Showing 2 things.
Yeah, 2 things. What is it?
A crown.
A crown.
And some lipstick.
And where did that lipstick come from?
We made it.
We made it yesterday, didn't we? It's actually lip balm, but
The bone.
so yeah, that's what we've been doing. And we coloured in a picture yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
You can find the template on our Facebook page. It's for our Easter giveaway for a Jesus Storybook Bible. If you don't fancy getting one for free and you want to buy one, you can also buy them at the Good Book Company. And there's a link for that as well. But we're going to look at the next part of our story. Do you know who it's about today?
The king.
The king, that not just any king, but a teeny weeny true king. Okay? So this is Samuel, and he's anointing David. And it's 1 Samuel 16. God's people had a new land. Now they wanted a king.
Find one.
Okay. Now they wanted a king. But God is your king, Samuel told them. He's the one who looks after you best. We want a real king, they said, one that we can see. God knew that a king might not be kind to his people or look after them as well as he would, but God's people didn't care. They wanted a king and they wanted him now. So God gave them a king. He was called Saul, and he seemed like a good king at first, but he became proud and stopped listening to God. What are you doing with your big head in there? He became proud and he stopped listening to God. He didn't obey God. He didn't love God with his whole heart. And God said to himself, Saul can't help me with my plan. I need a king who loves me and will teach my people to love me. I need a true king. And God had just the right one in mind. Go to Bethlehem, God told Samuel. You'll find a new king there. Samuel's job was to listen to God and to tell people what God said. So listen, Samuel went to the little town of Bethlehem, and God told Samuel to go to a man called Jesse's house. And God was going to choose one of Jesse's sons to be the new king. Now Jesse had 7 strong sons. Let me see your strong muscles. Oh yeah, and them guns. Now in those days, if you were going to be the king, you didn't have to be the richest. You didn't have to be the cleverest. Although that was always nice. You had to look like a king, which meant you had to be the tallest and the strongest. Do you know why you had to be strong? So you could carry the biggest swords, so you could wear the biggest armour, and so you could defeat everyone. And it didn't hurt to be handsome either. So if you were handsome, you could be the king. So Samuel asked Jesse to bring him each son one by one. And so Jesse brought the tallest, oldest, strongest son. And Samuel thought, this has to be the king. He looks just like a king.
Now they're the same size.
But did God choose him, do you think? No, God didn't choose him. You're thinking about what he looks like on the outside, God told Samuel. But God said, I'm looking at his heart. I'm looking at what he's like on the inside. So Jesse showed Samuel his next oldest, tallest, strongest, handsomest son. But God didn't choose him either. In fact, God didn't choose any of the 7 sons. Didn't even choose him. And Samuel said, is that it? Is that all? And Jesse laughed. Do you know why he laughed?
Why?
Because he said, well, there's another one, there's the youngest one. But he's just a weakling. He's just a teeny. And then Samuel said, bring him. Let me see him. Do you know what his name was? His name was David.
David.
And he came running up. And you know, God spoke to Samuel. And God said to Samuel, this is the one. This is the one. God said, he has a heart like mine. It's full of love. And he's the one that's going to help me with my secret rescue plan. And one of his children's children will be the king. And the king will rule the world forever. And so Samuel did something a little bit strange with David.
I know.
What?
I poured something on his head.
He poured something on his head. He poured oil on his head. That was called anointing, and that was a special way to show that you were God's chosen king. Hey, get your big head. I'm gonna anoint your head with vegetable oil. And Samuel told him, you're going to be, well, you're going to be the new king one day, Samuel told him. And you know what? That's what happened. He grew up and David became king. And God chose David to be king because God was getting his people ready for an even greater king that was coming. And once again, God would say, go to Bethlehem and you'll find the king there. And there, one starry night in Bethlehem, in the town of David, 3 wise men would find him. Who was it? Say it loud for me. That's a whisper, but yeah, that's talking about Jesus. And so that's our story about how God chose David to be the king. And you know, when God said to Samuel that he looks on the heart, that he looks on the inside, that doesn't mean that God looks at our heart and our lungs and our tummy, and he looks at our rib cage and looks at our bones. That's not what it means when God looks on the inside. When God looks on the inside, he looks at our heart. He looks at how we feel. He looks at the things that make us happy. He looks at the reasons why we do things. He looks at who we are on the inside. And so tomorrow, our story is going to be another famous story that we know very well about a young hero and a horrible big giant. I think that's how he talked anyway. So anyway.
I remember this story.
Yeah. Good. Well, you'll be able to tell it for me tomorrow. So we'll say a quick hello to people that have been watching today, this morning. Because Nicola's been watching. And Sharon's been watching, and Lindsay from GB, she's been watching. There's been a few different people. And do you know who else is watching that you could say hello to? Do you know how you have Auntie Dawn? And do you know Daddy's mummy's auntie has been watching? And her name's Auntie Fi. So you could say, hi Auntie Fi.
Hi Auntie Fi.
And she lives in England. She lives right over in Chester. And so we'll say hello to her because Daddy hasn't seen her in a long time and misses her very much. And Mummy's watching from somewhere too. But anyway, we will say goodbye for now. And we'll see you again tomorrow. We're going to see the story of David and Goliath. So until next time, peace.